worst sound I ever heard was silence. Not the screaming, not the mortars, not the banzai charges. The silence. When the gun jammed and suddenly I could hear everything. The wounded calling for medics we didn't have, Japanese officers shouting coordinates, someone crying in the next pit. It lasted maybe 6 seconds, long enough to understand how many of them there were, long enough to know we were dead, long enough to decide if I was going to die trying to fix it or die running. I ripped the top cover off, metal so hot it takes skin with it, and I can see the problem. The belt's twisted in the feed tray. My fingers are slippery with blood and oil, and I can't get purchase on the cartridge that's jamming everything. The Japanese are close enough now I can hear their boots in the mud, that wet sucking sound when you're moving fast through jungle terrain. Evans is trying to cover the left approach with his rifle, but he's got maybe 8 rounds left, maybe less. The cartridge comes free in my hand. I slam the cover down, rack the bolt twice. It sticks. Jesus Christ, it sticks. Then suddenly it seats, and the gun comes alive in my hands, and I'm firing blind into the darkness where the sounds are coming from. The muzzle flash lights up faces. Too many faces. They're 30 yards out, then 20, then the gun jams again. I'm 96 years old now. That was October 24th, 1942, 83 years ago, and I still don't know how many of them there were that night. The reports say a regiment, 3,000 men. The pilots who flew over next morning counted 800 bodies on our wire. But here's what I can't figure out. Why didn't they just go around us? We were 15 guns across 1,000 yards. They could have bypassed us, hit the airfield from behind, but they didn't. They kept coming straight at us all night, like we were the only thing that mattered. Guadalcanal, October 1942. A jungle island nobody'd heard of 6 months before. Suddenly, the most important piece of real estate in the Pacific Ocean. The Japanese wanted Henderson Field, the airstrip, because whoever controlled it controlled the supply routes to Australia. We wanted it for the same reason. The thing is, that night at the Tenaru River, we weren't defending the airstrip, we were just in the way. I was a sergeant with the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines D Company, machine gun section. We had 15 Browning .30 caliber machine guns spread across that 1,000 yards, dug into pits, sandbagged, sighted on the river crossings and the gaps in the jungle. The Japanese had been testing our lines for 3 days before that night. Probes mostly, mortars, sniper fire, trying to find the weak spots. By the 4th night, we were all weak spots. Half the company had malaria. Dysentery was running through the ranks like fire. We were down to 1 meal a day, and that was usually rice we'd captured from Japanese supply dumps. Half our water was contaminated. The Japanese plan, we learned later, was to punch through our line in one massive night attack, get behind the perimeter, and roll up the entire Marine position from the inside out. If they broke through, there were 10,000 Marines on that island with nowhere to go but the ocean. My gun pit was on what they call the hinge, the critical point. If we folded, the whole line folded. The gun pit was 4 feet deep, 3 sandbags high on 3 sides, open to the river. It's supposed to be a 2-man position, but Martinez was working it solo because his partner, kid named Gutierrez from Arizona, got hit by a sniper that morning. Took one right through the neck. Died before the corpsman even got there. I was technically supervising the section, but there's no supervising when you're down to 12 operational guns and one of them is already running so hot the barrel's starting to warp. Martinez was from East Los Angeles. 23 years old. Used to work at his father's garage on Whittier Boulevard. He'd been on that gun for 4 hours straight because we didn't have enough bodies left to rotate crews. His hands were shaking when I slid into the pit next to him, not from fear, from pure physical exhaustion. He didn't even look up, just kept feeding the belt, traversing left and right, watching the tree line across the river. "They're gonna come through the water," he said. "Yeah." "How many?" "Enough." The moon was behind clouds. That was bad for us. We couldn't see them staging their assault. Good for them. They could get right up close before we spotted movement. The jungle sounds were wrong that night. Too quiet. No birds, no insects. Just the Tenaroo River moving past us, black water catching bits of starlight, and the sound of men breathing hard in the dark. The mortars started at exactly 0200 hours. I know because I checked my watch. Not random fire. They were walking the barrage up our line, taking out the gun positions one by one, left to right. We could hear them working toward us, 75 yards away, then 50, then 25. Then the tree line across the river lit up like someone had flipped a switch. Rifle fire. Hundreds of rifles all firing at once. The tracers were coming in so thick it looked like someone had turned on a hose of light. Martinez was on the gun immediately, returning fire in short, controlled bursts like we'd been trained. But they kept coming. I could see them now, shadows moving low and fast through the kunai grass on the far bank, then splashing into the water. "They're in the wire!" Evan screamed. That's when Martinez's gun seized, just stopped. The barrel was glowing red in the darkness. "It's cooked," he said. "We got another barrel?" "Back at the CP, 200 yards. We had maybe 30 seconds before they were on us." I grabbed the water can and ran. The CP was just a hole in the ground covered with a canvas tarp. Colonel Puller was standing outside when I got there. Lieutenant Colonel Lewis Burwell Puller, Chesty Puller, the legend himself, standing there like he was waiting for a streetcar while mortars were landing 50 yards away. He was smoking a cigarette. He saw me coming with that water can, and he knew immediately what I needed. "Which gun?" "Martinez, number 3. "How bad?" "Dead. Down to our last belt." He turned and yelled, "Mitchell, 2 barrels and 6 boxes of .30 caliber for Basilone. 6 ammunition boxes, 400 rounds each, 20 pounds per box, plus 2 barrels at 15 pounds each, 150 pounds total." "Sir, I can't." "You can make 2 trips, but Martinez won't be alive for the second one." He handed me his cigarette. "First tobacco in 3 days." I started loading. Mitchell and another Marine I didn't know helped me rig everything. We used the water can as a basket for 4 ammunition boxes, balanced the 2 spare barrels across the top, and I slung the other 2 boxes across my back using their canvas carry straps. It wasn't going to work. There was no possible way I could run 200 yards carrying this kind of weight in the dark with explosives falling all around me. But then I heard Martinez's gun still firing, short, controlled, 3-round bursts. He was rationing his ammunition, trying to make every round count. That sound changed something in my head, flipped some kind of switch. I ran, not fast, not gracefully, more like a stumbling charge, leaning forward into the weight, my boots catching in the mud every few steps. A mortar landed close enough that the pressure wave knocked me sideways into a tree. I bounced off, kept moving. Another one hit behind me, and I felt something hot slice across my calf. But I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. If I went down under this weight, I wasn't getting back up. I could see the muzzle flash from Martinez's gun now. He was firing one-handed, using his other hand to hold his helmet pressed against his skull, because the concussion from firing in that enclosed pit was literally splitting his head open. Evans's position was completely silent. Either he was dead, or he was out of ammunition, or both. I dropped in, and Martinez grabbed the first box before I had balance. His hands were bloody from hot brass. The feed tray was full of metal shavings. "Where's the barrel?" "Here, let me change it." "No time, just feed." Martinez fired. I fed. When the barrel got too hot, we swapped. 45 seconds in darkness working by feel. Hot barrel in the mud, fresh barrel in the gun. 5 minutes later, swap back. The Japanese were flanking now, moving through the jungle on our left. Every time Martinez traversed left, the center was open. Every time he covered center, they moved on the flanks. "We can't cover both," Martinez yelled. That's when Powell showed up. Private First Class Powell from Michigan. He was supposed to be in the hospital tent. Took shrapnel 2 days before. Could barely walk. But there he was with his rifle and 2 bandoliers, blood soaking through his bandage. "Which side?" "Left." "They're in the trees." Powell propped his rifle and started firing. Single shots. Taking his time, every few seconds I'd hear someone scream in the jungle. The system worked for 15 minutes. Martinez on the gun, me feeding, Powell covering the flank. Then Powell ran dry. Then the second barrel split. We heard it crack, saw the steam. "That's it," Martinez said. His voice was dead. "We're done." But I still had 2 more boxes at the CP and a 3rd barrel. I was climbing out when the real attack started, hundreds of them coming at once, screaming, firing from the hip, bayonets fixed, the whole jungle moving. Martinez looked at me. His face was black with powder. His eyes were white circles. "You'll never make it back," he said. "I know." I went anyway. Couldn't run this time. My legs were gone. The malaria was catching up, fever spiking, hands shaking. But I moved. Left, right, left, right. Mortars every 20 seconds. Halfway there, I realized I couldn't hear Martinez's gun. Either he was dead or out of ammunition, or the gun had quit. The position was silent. The Japanese knew it. I should have kept going to the CP, but I turned around, started back to the pit, empty-handed, because Martinez was there, and Powell, and if they were dying, they weren't dying alone. When I dropped in, Martinez was stabbing at the feed with his knife. Powell was throwing grenades into the darkness. "Did you get the barrel?" "No." "Then why are you here?" "Shut up and give me the gun." The barrel had overheated and expanded. The headspace was wrong. The bolt wouldn't close. I needed a gauge. I didn't have one. I had my hands in maybe 30 seconds. I did something from training I never thought I'd try. I took off my belt and wrapped it around the barrel extension, twisted tight, created pressure, forcing the barrel back slightly. Then I torqued the barrel nut by hand until my fingers slipped, and I tore skin off my palm. "Try it." He pulled the charging handle. The bolt came back, went forward, chambered, locked. Holy Mary, Mother of God. "Fire it!" He pressed the trigger. The gun fired. Not perfectly, the rate was slow, the timing off, but it fired. We were back. The next 3 hours aren't hours in my memory. Time stopped. There was just the gun, the ammunition, the belt. We went through rounds so fast I stopped counting. Martinez fired until his hands were hamburger, then I took over. I fired until my eyes swelled shut from powder flash. Then Powell took over, firing blind. Around 4, reinforcements came. Easy company. They brought ammunition, barrels, water. I drank and immediately vomited. Hadn't eaten in 18 hours. "How many you think you got?" one asked. "I don't know." "Gotta be 100. The bodies were stacked so high they'd created a wall. The Japanese were using their own dead as cover. "Doesn't matter," I said. "They keep coming." And they did. Wave after wave. The gun broke twice more. I fixed it twice more. Martinez passed out, and I kept firing. Powell ran out of grenades and started throwing rocks. The sun came up around 6. That's when we saw what we'd been fighting. The entire ridge was covered in bodies, 3, 4 deep. The river was red, actually red, and they were still coming, even in daylight. That's when I understood. This wasn't about tactics. This was about will. Whoever's will broke first would lose. They were betting ours would break. Martinez woke up, looked at me, at the gun, at the bodies. "We're not leaving," he said. "No." "How much ammunition?" "Enough." It was a lie. We had maybe 200 rounds. But Martinez nodded. And we kept firing. The attack stopped around 8. Not gradually, it just stopped. 1 minute they were coming, the next the jungle was empty. We waited. Nothing. Just silence and smoke. Martinez was sleeping, sitting up, head on the gun. Powell was staring at his hands. They wouldn't stop shaking. I tried to stand, and my legs folded. I sat back down and realized I was crying. A corpsman came through at 9. Martinez had second-degree burns on both hands. Powell's leg was infected, edges turning green. I had malaria, dehydration, heat exhaustion, and my hearing was gone in my right ear. Still is, just ringing. "Hospital tent now," the corpsman said. "Later." But I didn't move. As long as I stayed in the pit, it wasn't real yet. They counted bodies that afternoon. Martinez watched. He came back 2 hours later. "How many?" "They stopped at 300. "Why?" "There were more, still finding them in the jungle, in the river." Powell was gone, evacuated. I found out later he lost the leg below the knee. But he lived, made it home to Michigan, had kids, grandkids. Died in 1987. His obituary was 4 lines. Didn't mention that night. Just said he was a veteran. Martinez and I sat in the pit until dark. A photographer came by, took our picture. We didn't smile. It ended up in Life magazine. In it, Martinez is looking at the gun. I'm looking at nothing. The Japanese tried twice more to break through. Both times they failed. 3 weeks later, we were relieved. 4 months on that island, lost 30%, walking skeletons. I weighed 140 when we left. I'd arrived at 190. They sent us to Australia, real food, real beds. I slept 3 days. When I woke up, they told me I was going home. Medal of Honor, war bonds. I didn't want to go. But you don't say no. Martinez stayed in the Pacific. Made it through Tarawa. Got hit at Saipan. Shrapnel to the chest. Died on the hospital ship. 25 years old. Never made it home. Never opened that garage with his father. I went back after the Bond tour. Requested it. Iwo Jima. February 1945. gunnery sergeant, got hit the first day, didn't make it off the beach. Here's what they don't write. That night, 15 gun crews held 1,000 yards against 3,000 Japanese. 9 crews were wiped out. 47 Marines died. Another 63 wounded so badly they never came back. Powell lost his leg. Martinez lost everything. The Easy Company reinforcements, 2 died the next morning. I never learned their names. The gun I fixed with my belt kept firing 3 more weeks. Then it was scrapped. When they cleared Guadalcanal, they dumped the equipment in the ocean. My gun's down there. But here's the thing. Because we held, Henderson Field stayed operational. Because the airfield worked, supplies got through. Because supplies came, the Marines held. Because we held Guadalcanal, the Japanese lost the Solomons. The campaign pivoted on nights like that. Martinez never knew that. Never knew his hours on that gun changed the war. He just knew he had a job, and he did it. Then he died, probably thinking it didn't matter. Powell's children never knew their father was a hero. He didn't talk about it, just came home, raised his family. When he died, nobody at his funeral knew what he'd done. That's what stays with me. The ripples, the lives lived because we held, nobody connects them. How many children were born because we kept firing? How many families existed? I'm 96 years old now. I've had 83 years Martinez didn't get. 3 wives, 7 children, 21 grandchildren. I got to see television, computers, the moon landing, and I still don't know why. Why that gun kept working when 9 others failed. Why I survived when 47 better men didn't. I think about Martinez every October 24th. Every year. His birthday was October 23rd. He turned 23 the day before. Sometimes I wonder what he would have done with 8 more decades, what his children would have been like. The question I asked at the beginning, why they didn't go around, I figured that out eventually. They couldn't go around because going around meant admitting we'd stopped them, that 15 Marines had held off a regiment. Their code wouldn't allow it. Honor, pride, so they kept coming. And we kept firing, and everybody lost something. I can still feel that gun sometimes, late at night. The weight, the heat, the recoil slamming into my shoulder, steady as a heartbeat. It's the last thing I think about before sleep. Not the bodies, not the screaming, just the gun. And Martinez's hands on the ammunition belt, feeding, always feeding, always feeding.